Welcome to Baltic World. I'm Charlene.
I'm Crispin.
And in this video, we're going to talk about our favourite touristy thing to do in the capital city of Estonia, Tallinn.
Yes, so Tallinn is, as many of you know, a beautiful city on the Baltic Sea. An ancient city. It's got one of the greatest old towns. There are many things to do. Many of those things are must-dos. Some honourable mentions. You would have seen our video perhaps on the snacks that we were eating. Well, that was at an open air museum. It was a beautiful medieval town set up right outside the capital there. Wonderful experience, even in the snow and ice. But there is one thing that is a little bit unusual, not well known, even to some locals we met. We'll talk about that later. What's that thing?
That's the Bastion Passages. So it's actually off the main square as you walk down, and you can easily miss it.
Yeah, and it's easy to get to because it's right off the main square. You don't have to go to some suburb. You don't need a taxi to take you out there. If you're in the middle of Tallinn, you can go to these passages, but they're not visible, right?
No, yeah. There's always you have to look for a flag that indicates there it is. And then you kind of walk under and you're like, wow, there's actually these almost tunnels, right? That actually go underneath the main square. So if you are on the main square, you're on top of the museum.
Yeah. And one thing, we'll get into it, when you go do these sorts of tourist things, and this is a museum, but you walk through a series of tunnels, what makes it is the stories. I mean, it has a wonderful atmosphere. It's a really good experience. I think it's just long enough for you to be really engaged in everything that you see without it being overwhelming. You know, when you go to huge museums like the Louvre or the British Museum or some of the national galleries, by the end of it, you're kind of exhausted. You're kind of getting through it. That wasn't the case with this. And so when you are experiencing a new place, particularly a historical place, understanding the stories behind it, not just its construction and its uses, which you'll find out about, but the little anecdotes along the way really give contours to Estonian life and history. And this is one of those great things where you start at one end, you end up at another, and at the end of that process, you really feel like you understand the various eras that this country has gone through, as well as being a spectacular and fun experience in its own right.
So to get to the Bastion Passages, you want to stand in the main square, and then towards the hill, you want to go up the hill, about halfway up towards Timpea Hill and the cathedrals, you'll see a small alleyway that leads down underneath a tower.
Yeah, going up the hill, you can't miss it. A pro tip is to remember to bring your phone and headphones and download the audio guide. It's a free app, but it gives you a much more immersive experience as you climb down the dark staircase into the tunnels. It also contains some nice character voiceovers to make the mannequins and characters come to life.
So the official recommended time is 2 hours, but if you're a history nerd like us, we spent about 2.5 hours listening to all 34 audio guides. Yes, not to mention the posters on the wall and the videos sprinkled throughout. We went in off-season during early spring, winter time, so we could take our time, but it's all up to you.
So what makes the Bastion Passages so special to us? Well, part of it is we're from Australia and we don't have, really old structures, particularly subterranean like you have in Europe, but even by European standards, these feel like real catacombs, and they've been used and repurposed over the entire evolution of Estonia over the past several hundred years. Starting out as fortifications in the Great Northern War, bomb shelters during the Soviet occupation, homeless environments for people in the post-Cold War era and the economic disruption during that time. You see the entire evolution of Estonia since that time unfold before you as you walk through the tunnels, and you get a real sense of atmosphere as you're doing it.
So for someone who's fairly new to Estonian history, this was an eye-opening and captivating experience from the moment you step down those stairs into the passages. There are photos, models, and videos that give you a glimpse of what daily life is like. Posters of propaganda, how to wear a gas mask, and other realities of daily life from different periods in Estonia.
And that's something that I really liked as well. It captures the big challenges, the grand story of Tallinn during these periods, but tells it through a microcosm lens of individuals of all walks of life. So you get the unfolding history, but not just reading a blurb on a plaque. You actually hear the voices of various actors talking through the audio guide, about what the things were happening in these tunnels and why they were being used. It was also astonishing the versatility of the Estonian people repurposing these tunnels in various different ways as the need required. So there's never really been a time where these tunnels were not in use.
Of all the museums we went to, Crispin, this was probably my favourite in the Baltic.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know why?
Why?
Because it's labelled 1 to 34 with the audio guide. So you're not missing out on anything, right? Like there's, we go to those museums where there's all these different things. It's kind of open air. You kind of wander, and you feel like you're going to miss out on something.
Yeah.
But this is incredibly systematic and my brain loves that. So I feel like I'm getting the full experience.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. The Bastion tunnels have a beginning, middle, and an end. It's almost like a movie. You're getting an unfolding story of the history of the city. So you're right. It's not like other museums where you can get overwhelmed and you kind of, it's not about the displays. You don't have the Mona Lisa or big things from Mesopotamia. You do have a lot of interesting objects that are unique to the city and unique to the history, but it is about the story of Tallinn. And if you only have a couple of hours, and you want to scratch below the surface literally and get an understanding of the city, then this is a great opportunity. So don't miss it. One thing I find astonishing about this is it's not even particularly well known to local Estonians.
How do we know that?
Well, we went to fix this drone. It was having trouble, as it often does. And Charlene is very good at asking local serious questions. So this poor unsuspecting guy who is young and trying to help us out.
Yeah, I was enthusiastic. I wanted to share someone about who knew Estonian culture. Like, oh, I love the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me with such a blank face. What tunnels? He said.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not some guy who was completely oblivious about the world. This was at the end of a series of questions we're asking about politics and life and culture, and he had a lot of things to say about his city that he grew up in, and we're like, oh yeah, we just went to the tunnels, the Bastion tunnels, right in the city, and he's like, you mean the car park? Like, he just had no concept of what we were talking about. So not to embarrass this poor guy, we won't mention him by name, but it was astonishing that we went to some place that was so cool, so unique, such a great thing of the city, and we met a young guy in Estonia that didn't know anything about it. I would say that this would be a great school excursion. Because you're not going to lose the kids. They're going to be in the tunnel, right? They're going to follow the thing. They can all have the audio guide. They'll learn a lot about the city and the history and the culture of their own city. And so this is not just a place, guys. If you're a foreigner going to Tallinn, yes, you must do this. But if you're an Estonian and you haven't done the Bastion tunnels, go check them out.
Yeah, and it's a great date opportunity to bring a significant other or just your family. Like, I can't wait to bring my family back to the Bastion Passages. Entry is about €8. But if you go the first Sunday of the month, which we somewhat timed it.
It was a complete accident.
Absolutely. I was about to pay and the lady looked at us really weirdly. It was like, it's free. So first Sunday of the month, not just here, but other museums as well in Estonia. Definitely go check it out.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that busy on the first Sunday of the month. Like, if you go to the British Museum on a free day, it is just absolutely overwhelmed. Whereas this was not. You'll see the photos, they're not all packed with people. We managed to get some good shots. And that was despite it being free. So it's probably even quieter on a day that you normally pay.
Yeah.
So you can have a nice relaxing time going through it and get a real sense of the atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. And this museum is actually paired with another museum, which I'm going to put here as a name because I can't pronounce it, which is also just as fun. You get some cool photos as me getting eaten. So if you have extra time, definitely check that out too.
Yeah. So the Bastion Tunnels is both of our favourite tourist destination in Tallinn that we went to, but there are many places we haven't got to yet. What's yours? If you've been to Tallinn or if you live there, what would you recommend foreigners check out? Perhaps things that they don't normally see. Leave those comments down below and we'll talk about them in future videos. I had a fantastic time. There are so many other things in Tallinn that are amazing. It is a beautiful city, absolutely underrated. You should definitely go. Even though we were there when it was fairly cold, Right now it's summer, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It was still an enjoyable experience. And I think for this specific place, I could go again, like multiple times. I think there's always something new to learn.
So I know this video has been just one location in the city of Tallinn, but it is really unique and a place that you do definitely need to go see. But most of what we've recorded is for entire cities. We've got Šiauliai, Ugave, Sigulda, like so many places in the Baltic that you may not have even heard of that was really special.
Exactly. And I can't wait to share that. So if you want more content like this, please subscribe. Otherwise, stay safe and
ciao for now.